Okay, in these notes, I'm going to go over the notes on writing a good conclusion paragraph on a lab report. There are 4 things that we will always look for in chemistry class on a conclusion to see if you did a good conclusion. First of all, you must address, number 1, the purpose or the hypothesis of the experiment. So when I'm looking at your conclusion, I'm going to always look for the words, my purpose or my hypothesis was correct or incorrect based on this, on the experiment that you did. Number 2, you're going to summarize your data and your graphs. In other words, how did the data show that your hypothesis or your purpose was correct or incorrect? Actually use the numbers. Number 3, what did you learn? Okay, so that just deals with the hypothesis and the purpose of doing the experiment and the kind of data that you got and what you learned. Lots of different possibilities there. And number 4 are what are possible errors to the experiment. What could have gone wrong? What could have given you bad data? So those are the 4 things that I will always look for in a conclusion statement. So here's an example. Okay, this is some sample data of an experiment. Students measured how much daisies grew every day for a week in 2 different conditions. And here you have a chart that shows you what happened. You have the growth of these daisies, 5 days, you see on the top, and then the 2 conditions. One of them, the daisies were given sun, and the other one, there was no sun, it was dark. And then here you have your results from day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. And you can see in the sun that the daisies grew from 2 centimeters all the way to 7 centimeters, incrementally every day a little bit more. In the dark, 2 centimeters, 2, 2, 2, 2, there was no growth. And here you have a graph that shows the height, the number of days, and then how tall they were. The blue line representing the daisies grown in the sun, and the red line representing the daisies grown in the dark. The conclusion statement. Sample statement. This is all this is what is a good conclusion? What would it look like? Okay. The purpose of this experiment was to see how much daisies grew in a week in 2 different conditions. Now, some people would say the purpose, some people would say the hypothesis. I like the hypothesis, and I would have said the hypothesis, my hypothesis up here was that daisies would grow more in the sun. Down here I would say my hypothesis was correct. Daisies grown in the sun grew from 2 to 7 centimeters. Daisies grown in the dark did not grow at all. They stayed at 2 centimeters. So in that case, I'm summarizing my data as well. So I'm doing number 1 and number 2 together. But number 1 would have been my hypothesis was correct. The plants grown in the sun grew more. Number 2 would have been, how did they grow more? Give examples of the numbers. The daisies, over 5 days, the daisies in the sun grew 5 centimeters. The daisies in the dark did not grow at all. After performing this experiment, it is evident that plants need sun in order to grow. I learned that. That's the answer for number 3, right? What did you learn? It's great with a question. Actually use the question in your answer. I learned that. Placing a plant in the dark would prevent it from growing. And then number 4, what are possible errors? In your conclusion, you should say possible errors are. Okay, possible errors that occurred in this could be not giving the plants the same amount of water, or not measuring the plants at the same time of day. Example here, one day I measured at 3, one day I measured at 2. So in review, make sure you cover these 4. What was your purpose / hypothesis? Summarize your data and your graphs. What did you learn? And what are possible errors? Good luck on writing your conclusions. You guys are going to do great. Ask if you have any questions.